guests. Do we have? We have one. Do we have two guests today? Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hey, hi. I'm Naga Venkata. I work for T-Mobile, and the reason I'm at this place is I feel nervous when I'm talking in front of audience or more than unknown people actually. So I really feel nervous and I tend to forget what are my speeches. So that's the reason. Hope I get through it.
Welcome. Thank you so much. What a perfect introduction. I didn't even have to ask him anything. And yes, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, Dan Aden. I'm a member at Golden Bell, but I haven't been there for 6 months because they meet at a time I'm usually asleep. I joined them in November, but basically I'm a new member.
Welcome. Most people don't have a problem waking up in time for this meeting, so hopefully we offer a better alternative for you. So we have a very packed meeting, so we're just going to get right into it. I want to introduce to you our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Trey Sherrill. We're looking forward to a great meeting.
Welcome, everybody. Toastmasters, I've got a treat for you. For those of you who do have trouble waking up, this might not be the exact treat for you, but for those of you who are early birds and want to go after Toastmasters with zest, I encourage you to turn over your agenda. We have a very special presentation by Lee Amatengaletto, creating memorable messages through rhetorical devices. That is going to be a week from Friday morning at 7 a.m. I really encourage you to be there. It's at Willow's Voices, which is another Toastmaster club in this same business park, probably a mile from here or so, something like that. It's very close and very doable. Very welcoming club, much like this one, very friendly, very open. It's actually a members building meeting, but the topic is so good, and I've heard this guy speak just once, and I'm telling you, this guy just rocked my socks.
Wow.
So, big invitation, love to have you come. For those of you who want to make your speeches memorable, this is your guy, this is your meeting. So, the topic of the day, the theme of the day, is Indian summer. Now, I don't know what you do on an Indian summer, but for me, it's pretty easy, it's pretty obvious. I know what I'm after. Just a little time here to, I like to take some time and get out and play some golf. For those of you who don't know, an Indian summer is a little bit of summer after the fall starts. It gets warm, it gets nice, it kind of brings you back to summer. And for some of us, that means a little less wrist, more arms, a little chipping. Don't go. Oh! Don't go wild here. Okay, well, whoa. Maybe I'll put this down. I don't always follow my own advice. I've got great advice. Do as I say, not as I do. So anyway, Indian summer is the theme of the day. I'd like to introduce the general evaluator, Randy. Randy, come up and introduce yourself. Don't hit anybody, but yeah, sure, play through.
For those of you who don't know, that's a golf term when the group behind you says, hey, you're playing really slow and I want to go faster than where you guys are going. So, there have been a Crackerjack team of volunteered for today's work, and I would like to have them do a brief introduction of their roles. I'm going to start with the grammarian for the day, Sunil. Please help me welcome him. Explain your role briefly and the word of the day.
So I'm going to be a grammarian for the day, and the word of the day is rescindent. It's mean to revoke or repeal, and I heard this first word when they revoked DACA last week. That's how I heard about this word, and I'm gonna hear about like incorrect grammar usage, sudden change in the sentence, and I'm gonna count like if the speaker used the word.
Thank you, sir. Our item counter for the day is Ms. Kate.
Hello.
So today I will be counting all of your ahs, so's, you knows, and other distracting terms. Thank you so much. I'll give my report at the end.
Stepping into the timer role is Ms. Kathy Shahara.
As timer, I will be timing each speech. For the 5 to 7 minute speeches, the green light will go on at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6 minutes, and the red at 7. It will remain on until the speaker has finished. If the speaker fails to meet the allotted time of the 30-second grace period, their eligibility for a ribbon will be rescinded. And there's an 8 to 10 minute speech, and I thought, Pat, that yours was 8 to 10?
10 to 15.
10 to 15, okay.
So if I could have it at 10, 12 and a half, and 15, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
I think my ink is still wet, just a
Or they can come on at 5 and 7 and you can ignore it, right? Your call. Your call.
All right, so Pat's speech will, green light at 10, yellow light at 12 and a half, and red at 15. Evaluators are 2 to 3 minutes again, green light at the minimum, yellow at the midpoint, red at maximum. The table topics are 1 to 2 minutes, but for table topics, you need to speak at least 30 seconds. And that will be my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Kathy. At the end of the meeting, I will give an evaluation of the evaluators and a general evaluation of how today's meeting went. So without any further ado, I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster today so we can get going because we have some long speeches.
For those of you who don't know, what an Indian summer is the rescinding of rain and cold. It gets sun and it's warm and it's beautiful. So we have a speaker coming up who has been as faithful as a boy can be to keep doing his speeches. I watch Jorge get up here all the time. He is aggressively going through his speech schedule, and I'm excited to hear his next one. He did pull the title from a buddy of mine, Thomas Jefferson. He's kind of stole a few of the words from Thomas Jefferson, but we'll let him get away with it. In the pursuit of happiness, Jorge Restefano.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. Welcome to the meeting. I am going to talk about the pursuit of happiness, an elusive thing in life. One of the first things that you do when you're trying to achieve happiness is change your thoughts, change your mindset. Essentially change the way you look at things. And the things that you look at will change. Keep a positive mind. Meditate. Yoga is fantastic for that. Smile. Sing. Challenge yourself and set goals. Seek the positives in life. The road of life always takes us through negative situations and positive situations. And those are just opportunities to extract the good things and set aside the bad things, the failures. You can learn from the failures. Failure is only a step in life towards success. Just ask Edison how many times he tried to get his light bulb. And he did that about 10,000 times. Never rescind. Just keep it up. Giving up is not an option in life. Rewards are always laying around. Look for those. And you will see that attached to rewards is happiness. Robert Kennedy said, only those who dare to fail greatly can achieve greatly. If you don't fail, you'll never succeed. Be grateful in life to everyone, those who contribute to you, those who give you the opportunity to contribute, those who should be thankful. Gratitude reduces anxiety, depression, kind of oil and water. Keep a journal of the good things, but also of those failures that allow you to learn in life. Share your gratitude with other people. And contribute to yourself as well. This is a wonderful moment. And I want to remember how grateful I was when I contributed to Toastmasters. Find your big why. Core values determine how you think about yourself, your life, and all around you. It really is your north. When you know your north in life, you can set a course. If you don't have a north, your lifeboat just starts moving away without any type of direction. So, some core values are commitment to excellence, ethics, dedication to family, spirituality, getting better every day. Always try to be the best you can be. Always improve. Visualize that future you. Set the goals. Imagine the good feelings. For example, if you want to be a musician or play the guitar, imagine what it will be when you do play the guitar well. Define the journey. So write and post the goals in a visible place so you can see them every day. Define what you require. Would you need patience, discipline, persistence? Those you'll need to define. And remember, practice makes perfect. Have self-compassion. Remember, the road to success has a lot of failures in between. Don't give up. Have compassion. Those failures, take them as opportunities you can learn. And try again. So never forget, behind laughter, happiness is always hidden. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jorge. Awesome. Could we have 1 minute of time to fill out our evaluation sheets? Timer, please. Thank you very much. So our next speaker is going to be speaking on giving effective feedback. So when I give a speech here, and they turn in the little forms to me, and I get to see what people say, I always look for hers first, because she gives the best feedback. Pat Sultan is excellent at giving great feedback, and she's going to be speaking on giving effective feedback. I say great feedback. It's got to be effective. So I got to say, one of the coolest ones I got from her, she drew a foot on the thing, and she put a nail and a hammer and said, "Nail your feet to the floor." So it is effective. Pat Sultan.
Thank you for that creative introduction. The Leadership Excellence Series is put together by Toastmasters International. It's a set of presentations to help people learn the skills involved in leadership. Now, this particular presentation is on giving feedback. Anyone can give a presentation from this series, and I encourage you to do so anywhere along your Toastmaster path. They provide the bullet points. You provide the content from your own experiences. Enough of a commercial. On to the presentation. Feedback. What is that? In the context of this speech, it is not feedback for a speech, but rather feedback that a team leader gives the team members. Now, I know all of us have been on a team at some time or another, if not through work, perhaps through church or sport, selling Girl Scout cookies. So think back when you were a team leader or a team member and the feedback involved. What is the shortest word in the English language that includes A, B, C, D, E, and F? It is not only the beginning of the alphabet, but it is also oftentimes the beginning of self-improvement. A leader needs to be comfortable giving feedback to people. There are 4 steps involved in developing a structure to give feedback. First, you want your team members to be given clear and concise objectives. Those are the standard or the measure by which you as the leader will be looking at their progress. You want to be looking at each team member's performance. How well are they doing? Are they going along the path that they need to go? Or are they going astray, getting off that path to happiness? Immediate feedback is important because with the passage of time, the feedback becomes less valuable, and perhaps the person becomes even more off the reservation than can be fixed. And recognize positive performance of every member who is doing well. Remember, praise publicly and praise often, but praise honestly. And don't fixate on the outliers. Someone who's doing a tremendous job. Well, they all know that person's doing a tremendous job. Have everybody else feel good about what they're doing too, because it's not just self-improvement, but it's also a sense of self-respect that they're doing their best and it's appreciated. Criticism, like rain, should be gentle enough to nourish a man's growth without destroying his roots. So in this respect, the frequency and the content of your evaluation, of your feedback, is much like you would give for a speech. You want to have positive things to say, as well as constructive criticism to help the people do better. When you're giving feedback, be specific. If you're too general, it may be confused, misconstrued, or even ignored. As a personal example, I was leading a team of people who were putting together a contest. And I had one person who decided he really, really wanted some big trophies for this contest because it was going to be the best ever. I didn't know he ordered them. And I was getting calls from people saying, these are going to be really great trophies, I heard about them. Well, I talked to this person and said, I'm concerned about the budget involved because we don't have much of a budget. We only have a few bucks. We can't use the trophies if they're going to be too expensive. Not a problem, he'll take care of it. And I thought, he must have some money in his pocket, or maybe he has a donor. I should have pursued the question, but I regretfully didn't. You need to speak for yourself. I witnessed, I saw, I know that, as opposed to people are telling me. Make this an observation that's personal. They'll get it. Be sincere. That can be hard, because at that point, although I wanted to throttle him, I knew it was better if I just spoke to my heart about how his decision of independently going off on this path was affecting me and could affect other people and their actions, because the people who are going to provide food would have no money to do so. The person who was getting the venue would have no money to rent something if that's what we were going to do. Use the I technique as you would with a speech evaluation. You did bad. Well, that's not good. That makes the person defensive. Talk about how it makes you feel. I'm really sorry, and it makes me unhappy that you didn't consult with me before you did this project. End it on a positive note. I know we can make this work, and I know it's going to be a great contest, and I appreciate your time. To me, that's about the most important thing you can do, because appreciating a person's time, well, that's something they'll never get back. Recognize improvement. He said he'd do well. I knew he'd do well. I didn't hear anything from anybody about these trophies for at least another week. When I found out that he'd solved the problem in a very creative way. Every person who was going to compete only had to pay for the privilege. And the amount was going to add up to the cost of the trophies. Well, sometimes you have to go back to square one. And I had to tell him that you can't do that under Toastmaster rules. You can't charge people for the honor of competing in a contest. They get to that point because of their qualifications. Money is not one of them. So then we went down this path again. And by the way, it turned out to be a really nice contest. The trophies were really lovely, and he did find donors to help. I hope. Two things that people want more than sex and money are recognition and praise. Do most of you agree with that? Come on. Yeah, come on, you know. When you are praising performance, specificity is imperative. Don't just say, you did a really good job, because that doesn't mean anything to people. You did a really good job with an introduction when I didn't give you an introduction. It was a little embarrassing, my face is red, I can still feel it. That's the way it goes. So thank you, I appreciate that. Express your appreciation. Perhaps they went over and above to do something on your behalf or for the team. Perhaps they really followed the directions and accomplished their goal, or were in progress and were meeting a tight deadline. Whatever it is, make sure it's specific and that you say thank you. and do it publicly. That is, at least before the other team members. Encourage more of the same. By giving that appreciation publicly, you're making the other people feel, well, gee, I can get that glowy feeling too. I want to be recognized. In conclusion, meaningful feedback reinforces outstanding performances and encourages others to improve. It's very possible, if not probable, that with appropriate leadership and feedback from the leader, your team can not only meet their goal, but they could exceed their goal. And so I encourage you, use feedback and do it often. Thank you.
Very awesome. Timer, could we have 1 minute, please, for evaluations? Thank you. So as I was doing my extensive research on the Indian summer using Google, I found Indian summer, the golf course. I looked over it, went to 2 or 3 pages and wondered, is this in Arizona? Is this in Florida? Maybe it's in Virginia. Well, I will tell you, no, it's not. It's right in Olympia. It's right here. And it wasn't on. You had to dig and dig and dig. Indian summer, everybody should know it, obviously. That's the theme. Our next speaker is Brad, speaking on Mount St. Helens. Brad.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, it's my privilege to talk to you today. I want to inform you about a few things that we've learned from Mount St. Helens. Now, when you look at a picture, this is not Mount St. Helens, this is over in Eastern Washington. When you look at this, what are some things that you see?
Waterfall.
Waterfall. You see a pool where the water lands, right? You also see all this soil stratification here, right? All these layers. And you see many old rocks. And you look and you think, wow, that took a lot of time to form that. And we're told it took millions of years of laying down a little bit upon a little bit upon a little bit. You also see this waterfall here, which cut this big place here. It's like, wow, that took a long time for that little waterfall to cut this big canyon here. Mount St. Helens actually told us some different things, which have really caused a lot of geologists to rescind some of their arguments that they've used in life. I want to talk to you about a few of those things today. In 2012, my son, my dad, and a friend and I were able to join with a group of geologists and other people and do an off-trail hike into the Toutle River, which comes out of Mount St. Helens Spirit Lake, and with geologist Steve Austin. And through that is when we learned about a lot of things that happened in this event. The mountain erupted on May 18th, 1980, and it was a great experience. When Mount St. Helens erupted, it was 9,677 feet high. It lost 1,300 feet of elevation when that happened. There was a half cubic mile of debris that slid. And it was a 5.1 on the Richter scale. Now, it's considered a small to average size eruption, and not like Yellowstone, which is a massive eruption. There's a picture looking from the south looking to the north. There was a series of events that happened when this mountain erupted. The first thing was the summit slid. This massive amount of dirt started to slide. When that slid, it opened up the side of it. So actually, there was a massive steam blast that leveled 150 square miles of forest. And it didn't go straight up, it shot out the side, and it came to the north. that debris that slid down created a massive avalanche, which covered 25 square miles of slurry of rock and ash. There was this half cubic mile of debris, 3/8 of it went over Johnson Ridge, which is where you go if you go down there to see the whole observatory that's on Johnson Ridge. And a quarter of it slid into Spirit Lake. Well, when it came into Spirit Lake, it totally displaced Spirit Lake. And it sent Spirit Lake, and that was the fourth event that happened, is a giant water wave. It sent Spirit Lake up the other side of the mountain, and they measured it, went up 860 feet high. They could see how high it had gone. Well, all the steam blasts that had shot out before leveled the forest. The water comes rushing up the mountain, and what does it do? It washes all those trees and all the debris back down into Spirit Lake. So they actually thought Spirit Lake was gone. And when it came down, Spirit Lake had risen up all that debris. It rose up 200 feet, so Spirit Lake is 200 feet higher than it was. So that created a massive landslide debris dam. And then there was that steam, melted ice and snow, mixed with all this rock and debris, and it created these massive mud flows. And then there was all the blast, the airfall tephra that landed and came down. So all this stuff was a massive event. Now, it was they consider it was 44 million TNT, that was equivalent to 44 million TNT, or 33,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs. That'd be one every second for 9 hours.
Oh my.
And it was, but Yellowstone was about 25,000 times bigger than this, they consider. The two facts that I want to share with you today is this. We talked about the soil stratification, this little amounts of time it laid out. Mount St. Helens showed us exactly how this stuff laid out. Here's a picture of us down in the Toutle River. And the first thing was all of this airfall tephra that landed here and made these deposits. Okay, and that happened on May 18, 1990. And then there's about 25 feet of pyroclast flow deposits up here. And that was on June 12, 1980. And then there was this dam, a year later, it broke through the dam, and there was massive mud flows that happened, and that was March 18, 1982. Now when you look at this and compare it to Eastern Washington, you go, wow, that took a lot of time for all those layers to happen, and yet we saw what happened. It happened very quickly. It didn't take those millions of years for it to happen. So what we learned from this is that the layering doesn't necessarily have to take millions of years. We weren't back there to see it happen. Mount St. Helens, we were here to watch it happen. The second thing that happened, a massive thing that happened was this, that we see how erosion happened. Now, you look at this river, there's the Toutle River flowing there, and you go, wow, it took a long time for that little river to flow and to cut that big canyon. But actually, this happened in one day. It was a massive mud flow that cut down and cut this canyon in. And so rather than the river forming the canyon, a massive mud flow formed the canyon that the river now flows in as the lowest point. Here's another slide. This is Step Canyon. It eroded through 600 feet of lava flows and volcanic rock. Another one is Lowett Canyon. And this is, it eroded here through 100 feet of rock. And this all happened in one day. Mount St. Helens is a 40th scale size of Grand Canyon. And it's smaller, but they call it the Little Grand Canyon. This is a trip that I was able to take for a week. We floated down the Grand Canyon with this group of geologists, and it was amazing to see what happened. I learned from Mount St. Helens that, the way that our soil stratification we've been told happened, you go look at these rocks around, you go, oh, millions of years. It didn't actually probably happen that way, because Mount St. Helens didn't happen that way. All these massive canyons that were formed, or valleys that were formed, in Mount St. Helens, they didn't happen that way. They happened very quickly. And so I thank you for giving this opportunity to share with you some of the things that Mount St. Helens has screamed out to us as observations that we can make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brad. Very educational. Could we have 1 minute for evaluations? So at this time, I'd like to introduce Ellen, our table topics master. Ellen.
This has been an interesting week. My daughter started school Wednesday. So happy. I was thinking booking myself a massage. That didn't happen because I was too nosy. My husband Charles said something to me that it's Toastmasters' fault. Because Toastmaster came in contact and given me lots of confidence. I am an introvert. I didn't like to speak up. I didn't learn to speak English until I was age 10. It took me many years before I was able to speak fluently. And my motto was, to each his own. You don't like gays? It's your problem. I don't care. I love them because it doesn't matter if I don't understand them, they're human beings. So, 3 days into the school, before I say anything, I learned something from Omar Rivers. He said, pain is temporary, regret is a lifetime. Being up here speaking to all these people, it's painful right now. But I've been going to a lot of discussion with a lot of people this week because I found out there's a high school student, many, posting neo-Nazis message, posting knives that they have it in their pocket, in their purse, posting pictures that they went to New Mexico, that they in a gun range, they're shooting, and the picture of the silhouette, the target, is not a silhouette black image, it's a black man's face. It's posted, and it's been shared in the high school. No one reported. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and my kids are not even in high school. So I got into a lot of discussion with people. I'd like to invite Linda. I had a lot of discussion with a lot of people. Most people against it. But they don't stand with me to talk to the principal or the superintendent. And some people said to me, the Civil War, I know you did a speech on Civil War. The Civil War is about state rights, not abolish of slavery. Second, also, black African Americans own slaves too. They actually own more slaves than the white people. The white Caucasian only own 4%. What would you say?
Well, I was a history major. I don't know if that counts for anything, but I was a history major. Doesn't mean I remember anything, but I have credentials. I was a history major. It is true that part of the Civil War was about states' rights. That was part of it. The overwhelming, though, I think, what I've read, I can't say for sure, was the big thing that triggered it was the slavery issue, that the southern states wanted to have slavery go into the western states that were being annexed into the U.S. And the North said, no, we're going to let you keep slavery where it is. And then the North got in the middle of the war. So you know what? We're just going to make the slaves free. So I would grant that they have a point with states' rights. That is a point. But I don't think it's the whole point. But I would grant them that's true. The part about African Americans owning more slaves than the white people, I don't know if that's considered worldwide. I don't know where that stat comes from. I would ask them where they got that information. I've never heard that, and I was a history major. The third thing I don't remember. So I will just talk about those two things. So one I can refute pretty well. I can give a part of the argument. The second one, I would just go, where in the world did you get your facts?
The next question is Steve. You've had this question before.
Does it involve a Zamboni machine?
The question is ideology versus practicality. Here's a background I didn't write down, and it has to do with rescind of DACA. My husband is on Twitter, and he gets these angry tweets saying, get legalized, get your paper done. And he came to me because I was an immigrant and also a refugee. And I said to my husband, you don't have a piece of paper called naturalization. I do. And as a minor, you have no legal right to go to an immigration office and say, get a piece of paper. That's not possible. It's not practical. So I said to him, think about this. Ideally, you want your kids to have sex after marriage. In practice, it's not. Can you give an example?
We'd like you to do it in 30
seconds, by the way.
Zamboni machine.
Can I have the question about the Zamboni again? Ideally, when I get up for table topics, I should have a clue as to what direction I'm going to go in with my response. But in all practicality, many times you have to just reach down for whatever you can find. I can't think of an example because I'm other than that right now. I think that ideology is our mind's concept of the way things should be, the way that society or our morals, our basic moral backbone supports and convicts us to act and behave and think about life and approach the world around us. Whereas practicality is the more logical, the more realistic. The reality is the world is the way it is, and we can't change most of the things around us. All we can really do is embrace and make decisions on a one-by-one basis on how to respond rather than react to the world around us. That's the best I can do. Thank you. Not because I didn't want another person, just because we have to.
Yes,
We need to give.
Yes, yes. So if I could bring our general evaluator back up to take us through the evaluation portion of our meeting.
Wrong piece of paper. I'm going to invite Amy up because I happen to know that Amy's first in evaluating Jorge's speech, so please help me welcome Amy.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, especially Mr. Jorge Restrepo. I tried. Today you gave your speech and you've been, like Trey said, doing a great job giving all of your speeches. This particular one was on the pursuit of happiness, a very relevant topic that everybody thinks about at some point in their life, so I appreciate that. You always come up with great topics. The purpose of your speech was to research your topic. So you needed to use statistics, testimony, examples, stories, or anecdotes, visual aids, or facts to support the material that you were providing. And I think you did a really good job with your visual aid. I thought the PowerPoint was very well planned out. The key points were enough to keep us on track with what you were saying, but not too much, so it was overwhelming. I think you hit the point and then would talk a little bit about it, so I appreciated that. As far as the pictures, I personally, just a personal preference, would have loved to see more realistic photos in there. With the internet, you could get some really funny things that could capture your audience's attention and really support the material that you're providing versus the animated versions. So that's one thing, but the last slide that you had, laughter, I think did a great job of doing that. So the thing that I really want you to focus on with your speeches, because you're already comfortable talking in front of people, it seems, your voice is good, your eye contact, you don't use notes. It's the communication and the organization and structure of your speech. Because you do come up with these great topics, but I want to know why. And I want, as an audience, we sit here and have no background. behind what it is that you're going to talk about. So what I would love is for you to have a clear introduction, body, and conclusion to your speech, because it's so important for your audience to have that. So why is it that you're talking about happiness? Well, there are a ton of statistics about happiness. If people search for happiness, there are facts of what happens. Just a lot of the really good material that you could use to capture everybody's attention even more so. Include that in your speech. And then a body, you can use the PowerPoint to share all of those. And then a conclusion, maybe a call to action, something of that nature, just really to complete your speech and let us know the purpose. And also with your visual aids, something that maybe, again, just having that clear organization. You had kind of a title page where you said what you're going to talk about, but then have each slide directly related to that. Like just the organization will help us to follow as an audience. But overall, of course, you did a great job. You're a good speaker. You made really great suggestions for all of us to make. You used the word of the day, and you're just improving so much each and every time. So thank you, Martin.
He's writing notes. All right, Jules, come on up. Next evaluator is Julie Morton. You're going to evaluate that speech, so I will give you the stage.
Okay, thank you so much. What's the definition of irony? I don't exactly know, but I think I'm in an ironic situation right now because I am evaluating arguably the best evaluator in our group, and she told us how to give feedback. So am I supposed to follow what she said because I didn't take good enough notes to do that? Fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Pat, thank you again for an excellent offering to us. I think those canned speeches are kind of tough because they can be incredibly boring, and you made this one fun with some excellent examples, especially the guy that you wanted to throttle regarding trophies. I witnessed that you were very comfortable and very well prepared. I saw, this is right out of your thing, I saw you using your hand motions kind of a lot without a lot of purpose. That would be, or to me, that would be one of my suggestions for improvement, that you do something with your hands that more than just kind of this and this. You were very well prepped. I love that you said that feedback is the road to self-improvement, sometimes the first step on the road to self-improvement. It really puts it in context for why we want to welcome feedback, hopefully gently and courteously offered. I really liked the A, B, C, D, E, F. That was very clever about what word, what's the shortest word that has A, B, C, D, E, F, feedback. Wonderful. You did present the material clearly so that audience members could easily use, yes. You, a little bit of tripping on your words from time to time. And the other thing I would have loved is more stories. That was a great story. I think you could probably offer some more stories. And regarding vocal variety, you have really good vocal variety. I think people would agree, for sure. I think there's, since you're already so good, I'm going to get really nitpicky. I think you could do a little more with your vocal variety when you're talking about, when you talked about offering praise. You could really, smile and really come through as warmer in your voice and your expression when offering praise. That's where I would look to add some more vocal variety. Overall, I want to end on a positive note. Hope I've been specific and offer appreciation. Excellent speech as usual, and thank you so much, Pat. Thank you.
I'd like to invite up Deependra, who is going to evaluate Brad's speech.
Thank you, Andy. Fellow
Toastmasters, honored guest, and Brad. Thank you very much for the speech you gave. Your objective was to speak from the manual Speaking to Inform, number 1. And your goal was to understand the audience, their background, their demographics, research a topic that required additional research than what you already know, and then deliver it to us. And on all 3 notes, you delivered it very well. The first one, audience, this was the right topic for the audience, for the type of audience that we have. You know, who doesn't like hiking or trying to understand about the Mount St. Helens if you live in this area. And you did not only do the research, but you showed us picture that you were actually there. And you mentioned it at least a couple of times, 3 times, that you were there with your geologist friend. So that also added some credibility to what you were talking about. If you had just simply said, hey, you know, the Mount St. Helens, the river was formed in a day, or this mountain or peak or this layer were formed within a day, maybe I would have believed, maybe I would have questioned, hey, where do you get the information from? But you supported your information with the facts. There were a lot of information. There were a lot of topics or the tidbits of facts that was probably a little hard to comprehend. But you also, towards the end, you also summarized saying, hey, there were 2 important things that you got out, which were, you know, it doesn't have to take millions of years to form a layering, and it doesn't have to take a million of years to form a river. So you also summarized your objective. If I have to give you a suggestion, I would say try to minimize the number of facts, a lot of details that you try to cram into 5 to 7 minutes, because it may be hard to comprehend for the audience like us. But overall, great topic, very, very timely with the theme of Indian summer, right? And get out, explore. If you haven't been to Mount St. Helens, go there, take some pictures, and then bring it to answer with all of us. Thank you.
Kathy, may we have the timers report?
Yes, I was happy to report that everyone qualified. Jorge's speech was 6 minutes 18 seconds, Pat was 9 minutes 35 seconds, Brad was 6 minutes 10 seconds, Linda table topics 1 minute 16, Steve 1 minute 9 seconds, and our 3 evaluators, Amy 2 minutes 54 seconds, Julie 3 minutes 2 seconds, and Kendra 2 minutes 32 seconds. So everyone qualified.
Thank you so much. If you could fill out, it's okay, great job. You're actually clapping for Kathy, so go ahead. If you could fill out your ballots for best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topic contestant, and put them in the fancy schmancy little box that Ellen's taking around, that would be great.
It's empty. Oh, sounds good.
And while we're doing that, I'm going to ask Ms. Kate to give us the on-counters report.
We did very well today. Jorge, you only had 2 ahs and 4, but that was it. It was very subtle. Brad, you had 5 ums, 3 ahs and uhs. Amy, you had 4 ums. Julie, yeah, I'm doing it now, had 2 of us. Dependra, you had 7 ahs and ums. Sunil, you had 4 of the ahs and uhs. And everything else was just 1 little here and there. Very well done.
And Sunil, may we have the grammarian report, please?
I didn't find a lot of grammatical error because maybe I'm not good at it.
Got it. Oh, very good.
So Jorge has 1, Shay has 1 word of the day, Kathy has 1, Ellen has 1, and on the Steve speed I found a lot of and use. Maybe it has to do with the topic itself. It's when you're thinking about it, so that's the one thing I found.
Thanks, sir. I will slide in the word of the day here. Anybody want to rescind anything you said today? It's now over. For the record, it is what it is.
happiness behind my laughter.
That's right. I'm Voltron off here, right? I saw the Legos here in front of Linda, and that kind of threw me for a loop. I'm going to give you an evaluation, my evaluation of today's meeting. Trey, excellent job. You adapted well when you clunked the table and you did not anticipate that. You go, ooh, where do I go? Where do I go here? Well done. You kept us right on schedule. Excellent job. Team, fine job. You were very succinct in your comments, very succinct in identifying your roles and explaining to us. Very well done. Very well done, all three of you. Evaluators, great job of using your specific styles as it related to the evaluations. You were all warm, you were all smiled well, you were all used humor in your own way to do this. You used the words, Julie, I'll comment on you, used specific words that Pat had said in her speech. And Amy, you used specific comments about the slides that Jorge had. And where'd you go? There you are. Dependra, I was going to say, where did he leave? Dependra, great use of your comment about the slides. That was something that I noticed too. And we'll see that in my comment. One thing I would put out here for all of us, and this is my last comment, and that is to say that evaluators, while you are evaluating a single person, remember that your comments are applicable to every one of us, and that looking at everybody in the group was, and this is a piece of feedback that I got that I thought, wow, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. So giving eye contact to everybody in the room is a really good thing to do. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Trey.
So guys, I got a question for you. Who remembers the smallest word that has A, B, C, D, E, and F?
Feedback.
Why do you remember that? Because it's a rhetorical device. It helps you remember.
Oh, wow, that was a big
So if you want to get better at it, sugar, I'm just like saying.
okay.
So could I have a drum roll, please? The evaluator of the day is Amy. The table topics person of the day is Linda. Yes, thank you. Awesome. And the speaker of the day is, guess who? Miss Pat. Thank you very much. And I'll bring back our esteemed president, Steve.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, everyone. We are already over time, therefore, we need to make sure that in the last 5 minutes of the meeting, we can compress things as quickly as we can and keep things moving, especially when we have announcements to make. So I would like to welcome up Linda, would like to make an announcement about our upcoming, I'll just let you make the announcement.
Yes, I have an announcement. We had a very successful area contest last Saturday. Randy was warming up for his job today. He was a Toastmaster there, and so he was warming up for the brilliant job he did today. Very good job. Steve won the area tabletop contest, and he will be competing, write this down, October 15th, Sunday, at the Woodville Library, 2 o'clock. Because I want you all to think about being there. So you can start planning, it's a month ahead. You will be representing us there. So that was it. I want to also give a shout out to Julie, who came in second in the speech contest.